welcome to Cooking with Ignis and Lily. On today's episode, we're going to be making breakfast for dinner, an absolutely scrumptious delicacy found only in the Western Hemisphere. So we're going to start with some absolutely beautiful red potatoes. Now, some people don't like the skin on, but for this, I honestly recommend it. They're just gorgeous. The color looks amazing on the plate. It's just completely delicious. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut the potato into chunks. Now, I'm rather small, so I'm only going to be cutting up one potato, but for the sake of this, I have a picture here of what the potato looked like before and then what it looks like when it's cut up. If you have a larger appetite, some in our audience might, feel free to cut up a couple potatoes or just whatever you think you'll be able to eat. Remember, overeating is not a good idea. So once we've cut up the potatoes, we're going to go ahead and put some salt and pepper on there. Now, your potato is going to be a little juicy, which is perfect because the salt and pepper will stick right to the chunks. Now, you can add other spices if you want, but I think personally that just keeping it simple so you really get that luscious potato taste is the best idea. While you're cutting up the potatoes, you're going to want to put a skillet or frying pan if you prefer on your stovetop. You're going to want to heat it at about a level 5 and you're going to want to make sure that gets nice and hot. Once it does, we're going to go ahead and slap in some extra light oil. Don't need a whole lot, about a dime size dollop should be good. Spread it around the pan a bit and then go ahead and put in those potatoes just like we see here. Now, the good thing about these is you don't need to constantly be, flipping them or keeping an eye on them, so we can just leave those in there. We're going to flip them in about a couple minutes, which gives us just enough time to start mixing the second part of our meal. Some absolutely scrumptious, fluffy scrambled eggs. So I'm going to be doing 2 eggs. Again, if your appetite is that of a larger person, I guess you could do more. 2 eggs. I normally just do 1 if I was going to be just frying them. But with the scrambled eggs, they do tend to condense a bit. So I find that 2 is sort of optimal for that. So you're going to want to break your eggs and put them into a container. You can see I've put them into a little measuring cup here, which is just perfect for mixing. We're going to add in some milk. Now, for those of you outside of Canada, your milk will be coming out of a carton. But for those of us in Canada, out of a bag is optimal. And don't worry about the percentage. I mean, what I've got here is skim, but if you have 1%, 2 whole, totally up to you. I wouldn't recommend using almond milk for this, just because it tends to have a bit stronger flavor, and the purpose of the milk is not to so much flavor the eggs as to give them the nice fluffy consistency. And you're just going to put in a little dollop, not too much. You can see here in the picture, just sort of added some in there. Next, you're going to add in some pepper. Some people like to add salt. Personally, I don't eat a lot of salt. For people on a low sodium diet, feel free, don't add salt. We did add them on the potatoes, so I'm going to leave it out of here, but feel free. You can also add other spices if you want to kind of give the eggs a kick. Now, personally, I like adding in honey mustard. It gives it a nice flavor, a nice kick, a delicious smell, and it goes really well with the potatoes that we're making. But feel free, if you need a little spicier or anything like that, go wild, use your imagination and just get those eggs spiced up. So once we put everything in there, you can see here, we're just going to mix it with a fork until all the ingredients of the eggs are mixed up. And at this point, we're going to go check on our potatoes and give them a little flip. And you can see here, you want your potatoes to get this beautiful sort of golden finish on them. But you don't want to overcook them. You basically want the golden finish on the outside, nice, fluffy, beautiful potato on the inside. And feel free to taste a few if you need to, see how they're coming along. You don't want it to be crunchy on the inside. If they're crunchy, it means they still need to cook a bit more. And once they are good, we're going to take those out of there and we are going to put them on a paper towel just like this so that it can soak up any excess oil that might have been soaked in there. We don't want super oily potatoes. We're going to put the skillet back on the stove, and we're going to go ahead and put our eggs in, and with this you do have to be vigorous. Just go ahead and move those eggs around. We want to really scramble them up. That's why they're called scrambled eggs. Now, some people use a fork for this. Personally, I prefer a spatula for a couple reasons. The first being that with a fork, if you're using any kind of skillet or frying pan that has a protective coating on it, you can scratch it and wreck the coating. The other thing is I find that once the eggs are almost done, it's really nice to be able to just flip them over and make sure you get an even cook on both sides. So once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and plate the food, as you can see here, and garnish the scrambled eggs with a little bit of shredded marble cheese. Now obviously, again, you can use whatever cheese you like, but marble's what I went with for this one, personal favorite. And there you go. We have an absolutely delicious breakfast for dinner of scrambled eggs garnished with cheese and red potato cut into what are called home fries with salt and pepper cooked in oil. And that is our dish for today. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching Game with Ignis and Lily.